blast from the past in Tokarev form with the VZ as in Vzor or CZ 52 pistol. Interesting 7.62-25 Tokarev blaster that has kind of a neat history. I'm going to touch on some of that, and we'll go over why we picked this up, and yeah, show you the details, what makes this thing so different. Like, for example, that it's roller locked, really, in a handgun. Coming up next on GBGuns. Whoa, wrong VZ52. Kinda. So those of you that have been with us for a while recognize this thing. This was the Czech answer to the SKS. Runs on a completely different and unique operating system that's very cool. We have a full review on it. Tia discovered this rifle a year or so ago, and I didn't want to pick up a different caliber, especially a unique one like 7.62-45. That's right, not 5.4, not 3.9. A caliber only produced for about 3 years, about 60 years ago, for a unique rifle that was only made for 3 years. But we got it, we fell in love with it. I've now gone to somewhat part-time job of finding ammo for this thing. Lots of fun, but the uniqueness here is part of the spirit that ties into the other VZ52, the pistol. And that is that the Czechoslovakians did not necessarily want to abide by the Soviet rule. So when they were told, well, they needed to recover, regroup, and standardize their arms after World War II. They had a mix of stuff coming in from the Western Front, a mix of leftovers from the Eastern Front, pressure from the Soviets, lots of things going on. In fact, if you want to know more about that, I recommend you check out Czechoslovak Gun Stories. Interesting YouTube channel, but he talks a little bit more in detail about it. And prior to this guy, they were running this, which is chambered in 7.65 Browning, also known as 32 ACP. You can see why they might want to move on to something a little more duty-worthy. And so the same brothers that developed that very unique rifle we just showed you were also working on some projects and developed this thing. It was originally designed for 9mm. I'll show clear while I'm at it on both these guys. And the political pressure coming from the Soviet Union said it should be in 7.62-25 Tokarev. That round, if you're not familiar with it, is a bottleneck cartridge. We have some modern production hollow points here. I also have some older surplus stuff. It's very corrosive. It's a lightweight projectile. These, for example, are just 85 grain that are screaming along fast enough that, well, some of the older, hotter military stuff can defeat level 3 body armor. Originally designed to be a submachine gun round, little hot for a pistol, but that's what the Soviets said. Soviets and states like Yugoslavia, where this one comes from, moved on to this guy, the Tokarev pistol, that is quite a bit Browning inspired. And Czechoslovakia wanted to do things differently, and so they certainly did. We get the magazine out of this thing first. You can see we've got a heel release, got a pushback. So I come at it with a C-shaped hand to push back on the release, finger catch the mag, and then pull out. Our example was picked up at a local shop, used obviously. How many owners, who knows? They were adopted late 52 and made 52, 53, and 54. This one is from 1953. What's astonishing, however, is they made 200,000 of them in just those 2+ years. 8-round single stack mag with windows all the way through. Very easy to get your counts. It's a single action only. However, it has a decocker, and part of that, I believe, there's your safety, and up a little further to decock, is leftover from earlier designs in which this was a single action, double action. From what I understand from Czechoslovak Gun Stories, they were told it was now going to be single action only, and left the mechanism on there effectively. But we'll do our standard walk around the gun as we would with any pistol. And hey YouTube, I am filming with a camera in front of me facing 90 degrees down, then viewing through a screen facing 90 degrees back at me. This muzzle is not pointed at me or anyone else. Alright, so you can see we've got a nice kind of bold shape there. The texturing on this steel is really interesting. These, as I understand, were all originally Parkerized. This one is obviously not, because it's been refurbished. And that's identified on this side here. We've got 1953 and the crossed swords indicating this was made in 53 and adopted into military service. And over here, this VOZ, V-O-Z, and a couple of stamps. And that's where they were all refurbished. From what I understand, these were originally intended to only be in service for a short while, but served for about 30 years. So having a couple refresh stamps on there, not surprising. You can note the lack of a pick rail. That was not a thing. These are takedown levers, more on that later. No serrations on the front strap. And an interesting thing, if I can get the light to pick it up, is you see the frame wraps in this kind of C shape here. There's actually no steel on this side of the gun behind these Bakelite grips. Don't know why, but I find that interesting. The grips are clipped on. No serrations on the back. I'm hoping the lighting in the camera will catch some of the texture in that metal there. Looks almost like obsidian under this bluing, overworn Parkerizing. But I'm betting Czechoslovakia turning out 200,000 of these in 2 years. Some of those machines were probably a little tired. Even this one, being in 1953, is relatively early in the series. But I mean, you can definitely see some texture on that steel. I think it's kind of handsome. By the way, this being all steel, it weighs about 2 pounds empty. So it is a beefy gun. Next, we're going to field strip this thing, and I'm going to show you the unique mechanism it uses, which I think is pretty cool. A roller-locked pistol. Alright, so field stripping this is one of those things that's easily done with the pistol braced against something like your abdomen while you pull and fight it. Not easily done on camera. So let's see how I can do with this. We've got these takedown levers on both sides here. They need to be pulled down. And then the slide. The lack of serrations makes it also extra difficult. Here we go, I'm going to go at this angle. Once they're down, there we go, slide pops up off the top. Sorry about that footage angle, folks, but at least I got it. There we go. Slide off the top, and now you can see our frame, and you might see 2 shiny spots here. That's where the rollers activate. Here's our takedown lever. You can see how that spring-loaded to just grip in there. Fixed ejector, and it looks, I don't see evidence of a drop-in chassis thing like you see on the Tokarev pistols, but don't know for sure, and I'm not going to risk taking it further apart than I know how to get it back together until I've shot it. There's the face that some of you saw on our Instagram, those rollers in there. T and I were just discussing the construction quality of this thing, and it almost seems like it was a loose cast then machined kind of setup, because some of the markings, you can definitely see tooling markings on the metal surface, but some of it also just looks like the grain of, I'm not a metallurgist, but when a cast isn't perfect or doesn't have the purest of metals, you end up with some of that same texture. So getting this thing to unlock and come out of here seems a little tough. There is this hole here, and some of the internet says you can drop a punch in there and use that. However, as I understand, the manual involves the magazine. The magazine fits right in that guy's mouth. We're going to pull back until the lockers come out, and then all this rolls out. You can see the barrel serves as the guide rod. I've always appreciated that design as a way of keeping things slim. Don't know why that fell out of fashion. And then check out this roller lock setup. So when it's like this, it's unlocked. Oh no! And then when it's locked and looking serious, it's ready to fire. And then it fires. and you get the oh no face again. The feature to this, or the advantage to it, is the barrel remains directly in line. It moves front and rear, but it's not shifting or tilting at all. The theory behind it is that it could lead to increased accuracy, and according to Czechoslovak Gun Story's report, in initial testing when the Swiss were looking for a new handgun, the original prototype of this setup actually outshot what later became the SIG P210. And that's saying a lot, because the SIG P210 is now sought after by collectors as a super accurate target gun. Don't know if we're going to get that same accuracy out of this thing or not, but we'll see. So, oh, that's not what I wanted to grab. If you look inside the slide, you can see these pockets here. It's where the rollers sit when they're locked, and they tuck in to ride along. We've got extra big teeth on the inner rails where it sits to start on the frame here. Camera focus. Focus camera. These voice activated cameras are awesome, I tell you what, guys. And quite a bit of rail, so kind of an early, if you will, tribute to CZ's make everything rail properties of today, though these are completely different designers. And from what I understand, these weren't made by the same folks that you think of today when you think of CZ. This was a state-run bit. So getting it back together, we're going to stuff the mag in Mr. Ono's face, bring it forward, and find the spot where it sits back down. This spring is plenty strong, as I'm sure you can imagine. So it is a bit of a fight to find that sit-down spot. And there are recesses here, but that's not where it goes down. I've only done this a couple times, so I just kind of experiment until I find the spot. I'm sure one of you experts can tell us the secret. There I was without the secret, and I found it and it worked. So that's the field strip, and putting it back together from here is pretty easy. We're going to see this relief here, put that over just in front of the rails on the frame, drop it down and back on. I have done some research on reliability and lifespan of these things, because these have been imported for quite some time. I gotta go further back. There we go. So I just sandwiched it down there, and then once I pull it back, it locks and everything's back together. Pretty neat. The internet says dry firing these can break the firing pins. I want to believe that, looking at the quality of the metal on here. It's probably not the strongest of metals, so I'm going to run with that. There are still aftermarket firing pins out there as direct replacements and even some improvements. I went ahead and ordered one of those in advance, knowing full well that I'm not the first American to have my hands on this thing. It's probably been in the States for a couple decades. So there's a good chance that T and I will get out to the range, get all excited and worked up, pull the trigger, and not have a boom. But when we do get to the range, we'll do as best we can of our standard format review for this. Of course, what's for dinner is not going to be so exciting because, well, we've got military surplus hot stuff that I'd rather not burn through, a little bit of new production FMJ, and a little bit of new production hollow points. But it's a neat piece. Pairs nicely with the Alternative Universe VZ52 rifle of the same name, and I think is a great tribute and something that any gun nerd should look into, as different operating systems, different calibers, a different way of doing things, all while recovering from pretty hellacious war. Czechoslovakia was right in the middle, don't forget that. So they had to deal with the stampede from both sides, and afterwards took arming themselves pretty seriously, and I think did some amazing feats of engineering in those early recovery years. So that covers the VZ52 pistol. Thanks for watching.